Krishna Krishna, Ashtotar Sakrishna Srimad Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Committee Founder Charge Guru Shila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Kantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Vrinda Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Dwadashi Mahotsav Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Krishna Prishtaya Bhutani Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatharani Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayana Namaskritam Jayam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayapuriti Nashtapai Shubhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhakti Bhagavati Nashtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for being here, attending the Nectarian recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Supreme Character of Jara Bharat, and we shall be discussing today text 16 and 17. Text 16 has no purport, so and then 17 has a purport, and we will further discuss thereupon. And the text is in prose format, so unfortunately we will not have the opportunity of have you repeat it, but we can still, I will recite it and we can still listen to it and do the word by word meaning. Atha Vishala Rajapani Purusha Pasho Ashrik Ashravena Devim Bhadrakalim Yakshamanas Abhimantritam Asim Atikarala Nishitam Upadate. Please repeat the word by word meaning after me. Atha, thereafter. Vrishala Rajapanihi, the so-called priest of the leader of the dacoits, one of the thieves. Purusha Pasho, of the animalistic man, for being sacrificed. Bharat Maharaj. Ashrik Ashravena, with the liquor of blood. Devim, the deity. Bhadrakalim, the goddess Kali. Yakshamanaha, desiring to offer. Tat Abhimantritam, consecrated by the mantra of Bhadrakali. Asin, the sword. Atikarala, very fearful. Nishtam, finely sharpened. Upadade, he took up. Translation by His Divine Grace of Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. But for the devotee, it's okay for you in English? Okay, wonderful. So the translation reads as follows. At this time, one of the thieves, acting as the chief priest, was ready to offer the blood of Jara Bharat, whom they imagined to be an animal man, to the goddess Kali to drink as a liquor. He therefore took up a very fearsome sword, which was very sharp, and consecrating it by the mantra of Bhadrakali, raised it to kill Jara Bharat. So that's text 16, and now we shall be reading text 17, again in prose format. Iti tesham vishalanam rajastamaha prakirtinam dhanamadaraja utsikta manasam bhagavat kalavira kulam kadarthi krityotpathena svairam viharatam himsa viharana karmati darunam yad brahma bhutasya shakshar brahmarshi sutasya nirvairasya sarva bhuta suhrida Sunayamapi anumatam alambanam tad upalabhya brahma tejasati durvishahena dandayam manena vapusha saha chachata saiva devi bhadrakali. So it's a very long word by word meaning. What I'll do is I'll read through it, but I request you to please carefully listen. Iti thus, Tesham of them, Vrishalanam the Shudras, by whom all religious principles are destroyed. Rajaha in passion, Tamaha in ignorance, Prakritinam having natures, Dhanamada in the form of infatuation by material wealth, Rajaha by passion, Utsikta puffed up, Manasam whose minds, Bhagavat Kala, an expansion of the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Virakulam, the group of elevated personalities, the Brahmanas. Kat Arti Kritya, disrespecting. Utpatena, by a wrong path. Svairam, independently. Viharatam, who are proceeding. Himsa Viharanam, whose business is to commit violence against the others. Karma, the activity. Atidarunam, very fearful. Yat, that which. Brahma Bhutasya, of a self-realized person, born in a Brahmana family. Shakshat, directly. Brahmarshi Sutasya, of the son born of a Brahmana, exalted in spiritual consciousness. Nirvairasya, who had no enemies. Sarvabhuta Suhrida, a well-wisher to all others. Sunayam, at the last moment. Api, even though. Ananumantam, not being sanctioned by law. Alambanam, against the desire of the Lord. Tat, that. Upalabhya, perceiving. Brahma Tejasa, with the effulgence of spiritual bliss. Adi Durvishahena, being too bright and unbearable. Dandahaya Manena, burning. Vapusha, with the physical body. Sahasa, suddenly. Uchachata, fractured the deity. Sa, she. Eva, indeed. Devi, the goddess. Bhadrakali, Translation. All the rogues and thieves who had made arrangements for the worship of goddess Kali were low-minded and bound to the modes of passion and ignorance. They were overpowered by the desire to become very rich. Therefore, they had the audacity to disobey the injunctions of the Vedas, so much so that they were prepared to kill Jarabharat, a self-realized soul born in a Brahmana family. Due to their envy, these dacoits brought him before the goddess Kali for sacrifice. Such people are always addicted to envious activities, and therefore they dared to try to kill Jarabharat. Jarabharat was the best friend of all living entities. He was no one's enemy, and he was always absorbed in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was born of a good Brahmana father, and killing him was forbidden. Even though he might have been an enemy or aggressive person. In any case, there was no reason to kill Jarabharat, and goddess Kali could not bear this. She could immediately understand that these sinful dacoits were about to kill the great devotee of the Lord. Suddenly, the deity's body burst asunder, and the goddess Kali personally emerged from it in a body burning with an intense and intolerable effulgence. The purport. According to the Vedic injunctions, only an aggressor can be killed. If a person comes with an intent to kill, one can immediately take action and kill in self-defense. It is also stated that one can be killed if he comes to set fire to the home or to pollute or kidnap one's wife. Lord Ramachandra killed the entire family of Ravan because Ravan kidnapped his wife Sita Devi. However, killing is not sanctioned in the Shastras for other purposes. The killing of animals in sacrifice to the demigods, who are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is sanctioned for those who eat meat. This is a kind of restriction for meat eating. In other words, the slaughter of animals is also restricted by certain rules and regulations in the Vedas. Considering these points, there was no reason to kill Jarabharat, who was born in a respectable, highly exalted Brahmana family. He was a God-realized soul and a well-wisher to all living entities. The Vedas did not at all sanction the killing of Jarabharat by rogues and thieves. Consequently, the goddess Bhadrakali emerged from the deity to give protection to the Lord's devotee. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that due to the Brahman effulgence of such a devotee as Jarabharat, the deity was fractured. Only thieves and rogues in the modes of passion and ignorance are maddened by material opulence, offer a man in sacrifice before the goddess Kali. This is not sanctioned by the Vedic instructions. Presently, there are many hundreds and thousands of slaughterhouses throughout the world that are maintained by a puffed up population mad for material opulence. Such activities are never supported by the Bhagavata school. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let us chant the Mangala chant and invoke auspicious prayers together. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishta Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Vadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sabrajatam Sahaganam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saranata Shri Vishakha Vitamsam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidhyamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyatishatari Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Bhavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Kishina Nilachara Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadraspadrapyam Jagannathaya Te Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Surato Pangomana Mandamate Pati Sarvasya Padambuja Shradha Mohana Divya Vrindaranya Kalpatmada Shrimaratnagar Singhashanasta Shriman Radha Srila Govinda Deva Prestari Visidimana Shriman Rasa Rasaram Devam Sivata Tatta Karshan Vena Sune Gopi Gopinath Shriyastana Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindaveshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasani Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we do the translation once again. All the rogues and thieves who had made arrangements for the worship of goddess Kali were low-minded and bound to the modes of passion and ignorance. They were overpowered by the desire to become very rich. Therefore, they had the audacity to disobey the injunctions of the Vedas, so much so that they were prepared to kill Jarabharat, a self-realized soul born in a Brahmana family. Due to their envy, these dacoits brought him before the goddess Kali for sacrifice. Such people are always addicted to envious activities, and therefore they dared to try to kill Jarabharat. Jarabharat was the best friend of all living entities. He was no one's enemy, and he was always absorbed in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was born of a good Brahmin family father, and killing him was forbidden, even though he might have been an enemy or aggressive person. In any case, there was no reason to kill Jarabharat, and the goddess Kali could not bear this. She could immediately understand that these sinful dacoits were about to kill a great devotee of the Lord. Suddenly, the deity's body burst asunder, and the goddess Kali personally emerged from it in her body burning with an intense and intolerable effulgence. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So before we begin discussion on this verse, I humbly beg the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas so that I may be able to perform this devotional service primarily for my own purification. So Saki Charan Mataji is translating. Okay, everybody has?
No.
Okay, Albina Mataji I think needs some help with the translation.
Sure.
Now it's okay?
Sure.
Yes? Okay. Guru Nishra Prabhu okay?
Harsha.
Harsha? Yeah, okay. Alright. And if I speak fast, you can let me know. So yes, we are at a very interesting juncture here. Sometimes when the purport and translation is so big, you then realize that there is so much information which is there, and just absorbing the purport of Srila Prabhupada is good enough, actually. But what we do is we will highlight a few features of the translation and purport because they give some very important information. And then we will also discuss a little bit about the protection of a devotee, because it's a very epic moment here, you know. We've been studying this whole chapter so far. We are in the middle of the chapter and suddenly bang, this is the epic moment where Goddess Kali just bursts out. It can be very much compared to the killing of Hiranyakashipu and how Nrsingadev burst out. That was the epic moment, right? The wow moment. And so we are similarly in the wow moment of Jarabharat's story, where Goddess Kali bursts out of the deity. So that's an important aspect, but I thought we could also touch upon some very important Vedic principles that Prabhupada is highlighting in the purport, and which kind of people are worth killing and which kind of people are not worth killing. Very important that. So we see that Vedas are very refined, and Vedas can also be observed in the three modes of goodness, passion and ignorance. And according to the Vedas, the only person that one is allowed to kill is an aggressor. So who is an aggressor? Aggressor is a person who approaches to harm you or kill you, and therefore you take an action in self-defense. And I'm reminded of one very interesting pastime of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, because when I was very young, maybe like 13 or 14, there was a temple in Bengal in the outskirts which a devotee had recently purchased land, and the temple came with the land, and then we were turning it into an ISKCON temple. And what happened was, in villages what happens is crocodiles are very common, you know, in villages in Bengal. So also in this village where they were going to have this temple, there was a small pond in the premise of the temple, and there was a crocodile in the pond. And the devotees were not sure how aggressive the crocodile is,
and the devotees were finding it difficult to inhabit the place because of the fear of the crocodile. So in a way, the temple could not be properly established because of the crocodile. So that was the crux of the story. But what happened was I was listening to Bhakti Shravan Maharaj, His Holiness, talking to his disciple who was going to open this temple there, and he was saying that it's such a difficult situation, and that Maharaj said that take the crocodile out of water, just take the water out, and the crocodile will not survive over a period, and don't feed it, and then it will naturally just die. And then when I heard this, I felt like, my God, this is so mean, so ruthless, like you are killing a creature just like that to make a temple. And for a long time, it was very difficult for me to understand that, how, because, if you know Maharaj, he's very soft-hearted, he's very sensitive. Then I was thinking, how could he give such a strong opinion that let the crocodile die? So as a child, I was very much perplexed. As a teenager, I was very perplexed that how can you order the killing of a crocodile? And I also remember, like growing up when I was in Mayapur for some time, I used to see the Gurukul young boys, similar aged as me, like 9 or 10-year-olds. They used to go around the premise of Mayapur carrying this one, like a saw in their hand to hack snakes. They used to just go and hack, kill the snakes. And once I remember there was a Gurukul boy, I picked up a fight with him. He was going to just slaughter a snake, and I said, hey, you can't do this, and we are devotees, we're supposed to be very gentle, and it was a very very strong fight between me and him, and eventually my sister had to drag me out of the fight because he was also very strongly opinionated, and I was also strongly like he's doing the wrong thing, and he was telling me how I'm saying the wrong thing. So many times in our life we will have these instances where it will become a dilemma, whether or not to retaliate, whether or not what kind of measure to take when there is some violence coming your way. So the Vedas actually clarify, and Prabhupada also in his lecture says that the devotee is never pleased except when the devotee never wants to kill anybody, right? So Prabhupada, describing the position of Arjun, says that Arjun was very soft-hearted and therefore naturally he didn't want to fight. But Prabhupada said that devotees naturally are very compassionate and gentle, so they don't want to fight. But a devotee is not disturbed when an aggressor is killed, when a snake is killed, when a scorpio is killed, for example. And a devotee never also should feel uncomfortable. I mean, they can feel uncomfortable, but a devotee will be still righteous if they act in self-defense, if a person sets their home to fire or kidnaps their loved ones. So the Vedas very clearly state when you can respond to aggression with aggression. So yes, we are supposed to be compassionate, gentle, and we are supposed to practice ahimsa, non-violence. A devotee is naturally non-violent, right? But these are the instances the Vedas clarify where you are allowed to use violence. So very important point of information that we can carry with us when we can choose to be violent. And also we see that the Shastras actually give such detailed procedures, how to behave. So the Shastra gives us sadachar, which means rightful behavior or correct behavior. And in the Dharma Shastra, like in my university, when I was working on Hindu law, I also studied Dharma Shastra. And in the Dharma Shastra, the concept of achar, not achar, achar means pickle, achar is very clearly mentioned. And it is said, what is achar? Achar is set of behavior. We know the word acharya means the one who behaves in a certain way, right? Achar. So achar is established by the perfect Brahmana. And then the question is, who is a perfect Brahmana? A perfect Brahmana is the one who has good achar. So that's how the Vedas describe it. It's like a cycle, that if you behave nicely, you establish the good principles of behavior, and if you follow or establish the good principles of behavior, you are a Brahmana. So that's how the Vedas are very confusing. So therefore we need the Acharya like Srila Prabhupada to explain. Because if you try to read the bare Vedas, like here, we see Vedic injunction is being explained. If you try to read the bare Vedas, it will be very difficult to understand. And therefore we take the help of commentaries and purports. And recently, I am listening to His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj, and he is elaborating on the different commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he highlights how, the necessity of commentaries, because if you look at the Vedas, there are thousands of commentaries. I mean, he has a whole list of how many commentaries are there on different Puranas and even Srimad Bhagavatam. But he emphasizes that the commentaries are important because they shed a certain kind of light. And without the understanding or the support of the commentary, we cannot understand the direct text. And although a commentary may seem like it's a secondary information, right? For example, you may think that, I'm not reading primary information, I'm reading secondary information because I'm reading Srila Prabhupada's commentary. But that's not true. Because the acharyas have established that what is primary perception, because in spiritual life, in devotional service, you have to primarily perceive the Srimad Bhagavatam. It cannot be a secondary thing. It has to be directly revealed to you. So we are a part of direct revelation. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, we are a very bona fide part, because we know there are the 4 sampradayas, and we also have the Mayavada philosophy, and there are so many different schools which are there, and sometimes there can be a fight if this is authentic or not. So Maharaj was stressing on this point that we are a part of direct revelation, that the Vedas, the scriptures, the instructions are directly revealed to us. We sing, right, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita. So we follow this principle that whatever teachings are there in Srimad Bhagavatam, they have to get directly revealed to us. Then you may be thinking, I don't know Sanskrit, and I'm not reading the bare text, I'm reading the transliteration of it. Then how am I getting direct revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam? And most of the times, I don't know about you, but about me, I know that even if I read the Srimad Bhagavatam, I don't fully understand the deeper meanings. And therefore, in our tradition, we rely on commentaries. But it is so important for us to understand that these commentaries are not secondary information. These commentaries are also direct revelation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And these commentaries are like the rays of the sun which move away the clouds. And therefore, listening from the pure devotee of the Lord is actually the proper bona fide means of direct revelation in this day and age. So that is very important to understand. And we see very wonderfully how Srila Prabhupada is revealing the Vedas to us. And I would like to ask you a question at this juncture. So we see that one should not kill, here it is mentioned. However, the killing of animals in sacrifice is, as we see in the purport, it is restricted, but it is allowed in Vedic injunctions. So, do you have any idea why killing of animals? Animals are innocent; they are dependents. So why is killing of animals sanctioned in the Vedic injunctions? Yes, John.
I think Prabhupada makes a statement many times that actually these animals were not killed to satisfy their people's tongue, but actually to elevate them to a higher life. So they were helped как это
Albina Mansusi?
Я хотела сказать, что потому что Кришна создал все здесь как экосистему. И абсолютно все взаимосвязано со всем. И когда мы вмешиваемся в процесс, не понимая его, да, это приводит к самым неожиданным последствиям. Один из ярких...
Сейчас можно я тоже перейду,
Да,
потому что я не успеваю заметить.
Basically, she's saying it's an ecosystem.
Yeah. She said that Krishna has created everything here as an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And if humans interfere with this, with Krishna's idea, then everything become like chaos. Then chaos.
Один из ярких примеров был во время китайской революции, когда они начали уничтожать воробьев, потому что они клевали зерно. И это привело к тому, что развилась популяция всяких вредителей, особенно саранчи.
Это где в Китае было, да?
В Китае. Начался страшный голод, и
Сейчас,
погибло
подождите,
голода...
иначе я не смогу
Сейчас,
перевести.
последнее предложение. Погибло 30 миллионов человек от голода. В результате того, что уничтожили воробьев. Ну, то есть вот парадокс такой.
So there was a revolution in China, and of course it was scarcity of food, and the government thought that if they kill all this Oshan, do you know Oshan, this bird? I forgot in English. In French it's Oshan. Как вы?
И из-за того, что уничтожили
they decided to kill many birds because they thought that the birds will eat all the grain and people will starve. And but it turned out that by killing birds, so many insects, how to say, appeared, and insects ate all these crops and everything. And finally, many millions people, Chinese people, died just because of scarcity of food. Yeah, so they starved.
Right. This reminds me actually that you know how it's just stupidity of humankind. You know, where they think that they know better. It's because first they used to brush their teeth with charcoal, and then they had fluoride now in toothpaste, and then they realized fluoride is not nice, and now again they make charcoal toothpaste. So it's just basically, you know, like sometimes we try to mess with the natural system, but then we see it's just unintelligent. Anyway, so the point is, why is it that animal sacrifices, like thank you for your contributions, why is it that animal sacrifices are sanctioned in the Vedas? Because you know the Vedas are a group of texts which are trying to accommodate all kinds of people. They are meant for everybody, different population of society, right? The different varnas and ashrama. So the Vedas recognize that there are some people who are dependent on meat. So they are so much in the mode of passion and ignorance that they need meat, you know, to satisfy their tongue. They do not approve it that it's a very good process, but then they accept that okay, this is the case, that they need meat, they're meat eaters. But in the Vedas and in spiritual practice, controlling of the senses is very important. It's the cornerstone of Vedic injunctions. So anything you do to have restriction is very important. So that's why Vedas have so many restrictions. And therefore, to restrict these people, they said you can have meat only when you offer it as an offering to the deities. But you can't do that very often because there is a tithi, only on certain special occasions you can make this animal offering. And also we know that in the Vedic sacrifices, we know the Brahmanas, they didn't eat meat, but then they had, for example, a horse, and the horse was slain in this sacrifice. But this was to test the power of the mantra, because the Brahmanas were so strong and so powerful that the strength of their mantras, you know, the pronunciation was so correct and everything was, the potency was so strong that the horse would then get a higher, they would either get liberated or they would get a human form of life. So animal sacrifice was quite, you could say, in a very special category. But what we see here is that these demoniac thieves here, they are trying to kill Jarabharat. And this is something which is not acceptable on many grounds. Firstly, he's not an animal, but then they were considering him as an animal man. Why do you think they consider Jarabharat as an animal man? Yes, Chandra?
Maybe because he wasn't interacting with them,
Yeah.
like he wasn't speaking, he wasn't replying to them.
Yes. Jarabharat pretended to be retarded, like they say. You know, he pretended like he doesn't understand anything, he doesn't speak anything, and therefore they said that if he doesn't have that fine sense of protecting himself or fighting for himself, he's like an animal. So we can sacrifice him. But the thing is, Jarabharat was a special devotee, and he was a suhridam, ever well-wisher of everybody, and he had special protection of the Lord, as he was a God-realized soul. And therefore, killing actually Jarabharat, or even thinking of killing Jarabharat, was a great act of envy. And in the translation it is written, due to their envy, these dacoits brought him before the goddess Kali. So basically it was not a very innocent act on part of the thieves. They were very envious of him. And if you really, very deeply think of this, that why do wars happen in the world? It's actually such a strong seed of envy, because you find somebody innocent, you think them to be not good enough, and you think you want to dominate them and exploit them. And exploitation is a very, it's a significant sign of envy. That, and also, anyway, so we just see that in the story of Jarabharat, these people looked down on him, and out of their envy they wanted to harm him. And therefore what happened? That they brought him before the goddess Kali. So if you've been following the story so far, I'll quickly just do a recap of it. And you can also look it up on YouTube. Gauranga Darshan Prabhu actually has a series on Jarabharat, where he talks about the different three kinds of Bharats. The Bharat as Bharat Maharaj, the Bharat as the dear Bharat, and Bharat as Jarabharat. So we see here that Bharat Maharaj, then being attached to the deer, then took birth as a deer, but with the realization, and then he took birth as Jarabharat later. And he was very much aware of what not to do in this world, you know. And it's very interesting, for example, even if you look at Sukadev Goswami, as soon as he came out of the womb, he was just, I think for 16 years, isn't it? He didn't come out of the womb of his mother. And then as soon as he came out, he started walking towards the forest. And then Vyasadeva started running behind him like, stop my son, you know, I prayed for you to be here, and now you're just walking away. And then Sukadeva Goswami said, I don't want to get materially attached. And similarly, Jarabharat also, when he took birth, he had this consciousness that I don't want to get attached again. You know, he went through a very tough lesson. And like they say, once bitten, twice shy. So he got this experience because of his attachment, how he had to take birth as an animal. Then he realized that this birth, I will make sure not to make this mistake. And he was very much detached, God-realized, self-controlled. And therefore, what happened was, he was taken, you know, Bharat Maharaj, his father was very fond of him. But then the father, he disappointed even the father by proving himself to be a bit foolish. You know? So even the father was disappointed. So what Bharat Maharaj did was he detached himself in a very special way. And it is said that when they used to cook rice, and you know, the nice rice used to be given to all the other people, and the burnt rice, the black one, which was at the bottom of the pot, they used to give it to Jarabharat, thinking, anyway, he doesn't understand, it's okay, he can eat whatever. So that is how they treated him. So imagine, you know, you are a God-realized person, and these are the experiences you're going through. You know, like, but this is such a profound story of humility. Also, His Holiness Radha Maharaj has a series of lectures on the lessons from the teachings of Maharaj Bharat, or lessons we can learn from Bharat Maharaj's story. And actually, Bharat Maharaj's story is a story to make us very humble. And what is very important to understand is that externally, Bharat Maharaj was being treated like he's a fool, he's retarded, and he's crazy, and people were misbehaving with him, and he could see, but he was not affected by it. And we every morning we say Amanina Manadena, we always chant that expect no respects, and this is precisely being displayed by the story of Jara Bharat. How he was so deeply humble, and this deep humility came from his sense of detachment, because he just knew that this is not a place for gentlemen and gentle ladies. So who says whatever, what do I care? And deeply he became so meditative and deeply absorbed in Krishna consciousness that externals didn't matter to him. That even if people were behaving badly with him, it didn't affect him. So he rose above duality. So it's almost like he was in a Jivan Mukta state, you could say. And then what is very interesting is that even if the devotee doesn't endeavor, if you remember, I drew this comparison of Kali with Nrsimhadev. So Prahlad Maharaj was not endeavoring to protect himself, and he was receiving protection from Nrsimhadev. And we see that Jara Bharat also was not trying to protect himself, and he received protection from Goddess Kali, the very loyal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because she could not tolerate a devotee being disrespected and violated. So the story of Jara Bharat is actually one of very deep meditation for each of us, because and of course here Prabhupada also mentions how in this world we have so many slaughterhouses, and we are living in a culture of actually demons. We are slaughtering cows, which we should respect as a mother, and this is very far away from Srimad Bhagavatam. And what we essentially need to do is really meditate on the saintly qualities of devotees like Bharat Maharaj and learn from their stories of how to live in a Krishna conscious way in a violent world. And Srila Prabhupada, I will end with this, Srila Prabhupada gives this one example of how, I was listening to Prabhupada's lecture this morning, and Prabhupada was giving this example of how a woman, he says a bad character woman, she may be having a husband, but she also has a lover. And although she's very loyally doing her duties and serving the husband, she is thinking or waiting for the time she will reunite with the lover. And similarly for devotees also, what to do. We have to live in this very violent world, which is so unfair, so cruel, so exploitative. You step out of the door and there is just exploitation. Although we live here, they say you can be in the world but not of the world, or something like that, from the world, yeah. So similarly as devotees also, we can live thinking of ourselves to have this parakya rasa. I was just thinking actually, it's so sweet that we can have this parakya rasa, which means this amorous pastime with Krishna, that we pretend to live in this world, but we long for the day where we will reunite with him. So in a way, it is very daring to say this, but we can also have parakya rasa with Krishna. It's a very high platform of having amorous pastimes. But the more we try to live in this world, but have that very strong sense of understanding of what we are and where we are living, we can have this very special relationship. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So it's exactly 8:30. So I think it's a good time to end it here. And if you have any questions or comments, we can discuss it over breakfast. Thank you very much. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam. Jai Jai Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
мне легко и как мне сложно, это можно чувствовать только я. Как вы? Потому что разные переводчики по-разному. Я помню, я вас прошу, делайте немножко переведение предложения, а не так 5 предложений. Два предложения сказали, я говорю, привела. Потом, то есть есть разные переводчики, есть которые могут там просто 10 предложений сказать, и он все вспомнит, я потеряю детали. Все разные, понимаете, сложные детали. Поэтому, да, я прошу делать переведение.
Я хотела по поводу, у меня, вот честно, внутри все-таки прорабатывается, когда я думаю, что в ведах описаны случаи жертвоприношения. То есть, потому что у меня вот внутри все как моя штучка вышла замуж за мусульманина.
Да, да, я что тоже не могу показать баран, да,
Когда рождается ребенок, они уже берут, если девочка одного барана, если мальчик двух баранов.
а кто ягодного барана делал?
Отец.
Отец.
Ну, в Украине у нас проблема была, это было во время войны, когда заповеди. И, короче, там было много приглашенных, среди них были русские женщины.
А в Украине родился?
Мой
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
ислам это томасичный аспект. То есть здесь уже тамагуна проявляется, потому что, да. И что поделаешь, это так. Вот живем в этом сейчас харе.
Yamuna, not noted.
Yeah, it's okay.
The only question I still have, why do they need it to check whether the mantras work, whether the brahmanas are, still to check the mantras? I have, for just in order to to be sure that we have good brahmanas. If it doesn't work, it means we don't have good brahmanas anymore. Then what? So what was the purpose of checking whether mantras or the brahmanas can they recite mantras and it works? Because if there are no qualified brahmanas, then mantras don't work. But what was the purpose of checking, constantly checking, whether it works or that it doesn't work?
The purpose of checking in general is to keep a standard, right?
I was thinking, because that was my question, and I think to keep standard, yes. And then if we know that, to keep the standard, if the standard goes down, then it means they have to do something with the brahmanas.
Maybe.
But after Kali Yuga comes anyway.
It's not
Anyway,
yeah.
Okay.
That's why they say we are actually not on the platform of Brahma.
We're not. Yes. Yeah.
And also I think they had quite some power, no? And
Brahma Tejas.
and even if they did
They were very powerful. They could curse and they could.
and then of course when they do have power, but they do things wrong, then
They use
Destruction
their
would be
strength
there,
for destruction.
so it's also very important when we have power to use it really
Which
well
direction
and to have
it
the
goes,
right
our
standard,
power.
because if they have a lot of power but they do something wrong, then the how do you call it? The effect of these faults or mistakes will be even stronger. If a child is doing a mistake, it's not a problem, but if a powerful person is not really
They can
correct, then
destroy the
it-
whole world. Like now with nuclear bombs. And we have destroyed the whole world.
So this is my thought.
They're talking about this. About this nuclear bombs. Okay, Krishna.
Silver.